Good morning, it's Friday, April 28th. I'm Trinity Chavez coming to you live from the cradle of capitalism here at the New York Stock Exchange at the corner of Wall and Broad Street in Lower Manhattan. It's the last day of trading of the week and a lot of exciting happening here at the New York Stock Exchange. And first, I'd like to bring in my co-host and colleague, Pete Ash, who is also the head archivist here at the New York Stock Exchange. Good morning, Pete.
Good morning, Trinity. Happy to be here this morning, perched above our trading floor, the biggest equity market in the world. As you said, we have a very exciting day ahead. In just a few minutes, we'll watch the equity markets open up with our bell ringer, GreenTrees. Reminder, we are just a few days after Earth Day over the weekend, and we're here to tell you about the sustainable work that GreenTrees is doing.
That's right, and we'll also speak to some expert market makers and analysts to put some of the day's economic indicators in perspective today. We'll also have some highlights from the week that's gone by and football news from the road as we approach the fever around the NFL draft. But first, let's take a quick check at how the markets fared yesterday at the close. It looks like the Dow and the S&P 500 posted the best day since January. The Dow closed up 524 points, and the S&P 500 rose 79 points, while the Nasdaq climbed about 2%. And we'll see how the markets react in just a few minutes when the team at the GreenTrees rings the opening bell.
Right, we'll see. Right now, futures are pretty flat at the moment, but GreenTrees is here to celebrate Arbor Day, which is today. It's the guiding mission of Arbor Day. The guiding mission for GreenTrees over the last 20 years has been to reforest areas affected by climate change and to help mitigate carbon emissions into the atmosphere. Last year, we actually caught up with GreenTrees co-founder Chandler Van Voorhees. He told us how his company's making a difference when it comes to global warming.
When carbon came around in the mid-90s, when I first got involved, I said, wow, this could be the conduit that we could attract private capital. We could start that journey of putting a price on what has largely been viewed as free. So if you look at, as I told the audience a few minutes ago, if you look at the Catskills and the fact that New York City invested to protect that watershed so that we have clean drinking water here in New York City, that investment is critical. And they were looking at an alternative where they were going to invest in concrete and water treatment facilities that would have been infinitely bigger. But the fact that we invested in that ecosystem and planted trees and protected trees that were existing creates that perpetual supply of water. And so when we look at river system approaches, which is what have developed with GreenTrees, it's about carbon, but it's also about water. It's also about biodiversity, and it's also about people. I mean, we have 600 different landowners ranging from 7 acres to 3,500 acres. They're school teachers, they're truck drivers. Some of them are famous, some of them are not, but they're all looking at how they can actually generate new and diversified incomes on their land, because their land is their portfolio, whereas people that are managing their retirements and are in stocks and bonds and they diversify, landowners diversify on their landscape. And what we're trying to do is give them more tools to do that. William Petty back in 1600s really revolutionized this when he said, we need to treat land as capital, and to release its value requires labor. What we would argue today in this industry is that we need to widen our lens. We need to see the value that trees are providing. We need to incorporate that into the capitalistic order. And what's going on with the natural asset companies is an example of the evolution of this and how we're using tools from other parts of the capitalistic order and applying it into nature and pulling it in and embracing it. So I think we're really at the beginning of capitalism 2.0.
Pete, that's really interesting. I really love how he said that we're placing value on trees. We deal with land, water, people, and really raising that capital on trees because what they do is so important. Again, that was Chandler Van Voorhees in 2022 on Inside the Ice House podcast, which you can find wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Now, the floor is just starting to fill up, and we're going to head down there in just a few minutes to bring you the excitement directly from the trading floor. And
before you get to the trading floor, you're sitting here with an archivist. You're going to get a history lesson here on Arbor Day. Arbor Day has been celebrated since 1872. But officially a legal holiday since 1885, and we're now seeing on the trading floor the signing of the book. Yep. That book doesn't quite go back to 1872. It only goes back to the early 1900s.
Mm-hmm. But it's hugely significant because, they're going to etch their name in the distinguished guest book along the entrepreneurs, the thought leaders, as well as the celebrities that we have here throughout the years.
Definitely, and many people who have been taking ESG and sustainability, which we'll hear more about, in their under their guise within their own way.
And actually, let's inform our viewers about some history about GreenTrees around. The company has more than 600 landowners, ranging from 10 to 3,500 acres, and planted over 130,000 acres of forest that have removed more than 6 million metric tons of carbon from the Earth's atmosphere. And over the next 40 years, these existing planted acres will remove a projected 30 million metric tons of carbon.
Big project, but only a little part of the sustainability we have around the New York Stock Exchange. So I'm going to leave you with some sights and sounds of you covering our NYSE Sustainability Summit a few weeks ago.
We are here at the New York Stock Exchange at the Sustainability Leader Summit, where dozens of leaders from all different sectors are collaborating on sustainable solutions for the future.
It's good to come here and see the sustainability community in this part of the world. They were talking about subjects related to sustainability that also impact my part of the world.
It's so great to be surrounded by individuals pursuing a more sustainable, circular, and diverse future.
I have gathered so many people who are experts in their field. I'm learning more outside the sessions than I am within the sessions.
What did you learn from the conference today?
We all work for the same objective, which is the common good, which is sustainability, climate action, humanity. The key is innovation and partnerships.
Thank you, NYSE, for the partnership. We need more sustainable leaders to come together because this has to spread across companies, from the board to the chair to the management team, as well as the investors and our supply chain.
NYSE has been an awesome host to us. Thank you for gathering so many people in one room.
If we can limit global warming, we can reduce the impact of climate change. To do this, we need to reach net zero emissions. ICE brought price transparency to energy markets and was a first mover in environmental markets. Today, our data and technology is at the heart of the world's most important energy transition. ICE's carbon allowances and credits incentivize cost-efficient emission reductions and removals. Now, we offer a primary market for carbon credits. Developers who design and operate projects can sell their credits in an auction. The auctions are held on WebICE with robust legal governance. Buyers can access a range of developers and a one-stop shop for carbon credits. Developers can access a large pool of buyers and price transparency. ICE plans to begin carbon credit auctions for GreenTrees LLC, who are a global leader in reforestation. GreenTrees and its landowners have planted over 50 million trees in North America and aim to plant an additional 100 million trees by 2030. Connect to a more sustainable future. ICE Carbon Credit Auction Service.
Well, we are on the trading floor right now. As you can see, it is very active right behind us. There's going to be points in times during this broadcast that we're going to see traders just zipping past us because we are getting ready to open up the U.S. equity markets.
Yeah, and the trading floor here at the New York Stock Exchange, there are about 300 traders right now helping get those markets, figure out what happened yesterday, what happened overnight, and open the equity markets. It's the most exciting place to be anywhere in the world right now.
Absolutely. I mean, we exchange about, $30 trillion in market cap, depending on the day, of course. We have between 1 to 200 traders that are actively putting in orders, placing in those orders that came in overnight as we get ready to open up the markets. For about 4 minutes out, and at 9:29 and 30 seconds, we're going to start to hear the crowd behind us get really excited. They're going to start chanting and cheering as we get ready for GreenTrees to open up will actually ring the opening bell.
Yeah, and I always say, at 9:30, the excitement's up on the bell podium, cheering bells. but then after the excitement turns to the trading floor. And once we get the market open is when we'll talk to some of those traders and really get a sense of what's happening in the market today, what to expect, and as we finish a very busy week, not just here at New York Stock Exchange, but across the economy, how's it all going to close down?
Absolutely, and let's kind of lay the land right now. Let's take a look behind us. We have people that are gathered that are part of the GreenTrees team just right in front of the CNBC set. And look, as you can see, this is dozens of maybe their friends, colleagues, co-workers, executive members of their team as they get situated on that bell podium. You can see just right up there, they're trying to grab selfies and utilize every opportunity right here on the floor of the exchange here, because again, this is a monumental moment. To ring that opening bell, it's like a movie set. Around 100 million people around the world could be watching them ring that opening bell, depending on the day, of course, but again, all eyes are on GreenTrees today.
Definitely, and GreenTrees for 20 years helping, put value, as Chandler said on that clip, put value on trees to create value, not just for trees, not just for the environment, but for investors as well.
Exactly. It's the capital that we're placing on trees because they actually do so much for the environment, all of their sustainability and ESG efforts, which we also implement here at the New York Stock Exchange, and really making a difference in people's lives, raising that human capital aspect as well, creating jobs all around the world. It's really incredible.
Yeah, and actually behind right here, we actually have some growing human capital right here.
Yes,
you guys
look at
wanna wave?
that. Hey! All right, one more. I know you could be louder than that. So tell me, how exciting is it to be here on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange?
It's very exciting. It's so much fun.
So much fun?
Yes.
Well, how does it feel? Now you're on NYSE TV. Making your TV debut.
Yeah. I'm gonna be famous.
Oh, you heard it here first on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. This little girl, Julia, is gonna be famous, okay? So when you make your debut, you have to come back here to the exchange.
I will, I promise.
So tell me, what's been your favorite part about being here?
I love how cool everything looks.
Yeah?
I love so cool. Like all the technology, it's really cool.
And what else?
I like learning about the history of it.
The history. Actually, my
I mean,
co-host,
that's right.
have you met my co-host? He is the archivist here at the New York Stock Exchange.
That's so cool.
So you could ask him anything. Go ahead, ask him anything about the history here.
Let's see.
All right, we'll come back to you on that. You're going to think, oh, you have a question?
Was like the buildings, like the floor, was it all original or is it like remodeled?
Great question. So this floor opened in 1903. It just celebrated its 120th anniversary just a couple days ago. And this bell here has rang every open, every close since April 1903. And you're going to help open it in just a couple minutes. But what we want you to do is, in about 15 seconds, I want you guys to go crazy. Because you know what? You're on NYSE TV. We want to get you on CNBC as well. Because if you're loud enough, they'll break into the covers and talk all about GreenTrees and everything going on here today. All right, let's get loud, everyone.
Ready, set, go. Well, there you have it. The U.S. equity markets are officially open, and we got a lot of help from our little friends that we were speaking to.
Yeah,
I
it's always
loved
exciting.
that.
It was so much fun. A lot of energy, a lot of groups, and that's one of the best things about this place is you never know who you're going to meet.
Exactly.
We had DJ Metcalf here yesterday. You can check that out on social if you want to see a cool video.
Exactly. No, but that's the beauty of here on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange is like you said, you never know who you're going to meet, and we actually have like young entrepreneurs right now watching the bell ringing, and they were just so fun to talk to. I mean, they were so cute.
They were. I mean, and Julia's going to be a superstar one day.
Actually, let's go talk to Citadel Securities' designated market maker. He is the head trader here on the floor for Citadel Securities, Pete Giacchi. Let's see what Pete's got going on. Pete, what's the market doing right now?
Hi, Trinity. Right now, the market's down about roughly 100 points, which, considering the big day we had yesterday, is a slight pullback. The market's continuing to digest earnings and see what's going on there as far as the market. So far down 90 points, holding right in this level.
Okay, so what do you think's driving this?
I think just a pullback from yesterday is part of it. And again, I think the market continues to digest earnings as they come out over this period of this week and next week.
And what do you think we should expect for the rest of the day?
It's always tough on a Friday to anticipate what's going on. I think the fact that the market's flat right now, down only 100 points after a big day yesterday is encouraging early, but there's a long way to go today.
Great. Thank you so much, Pete. I'll let you get back to your important work. I'm going to toss it over to Pete Ash. He's going to talk to Jay Woods. Stay tuned.
All right, thank you, Trinity. As she said, I'm joined by Jay Woods. So before we get into the market, you've been on the trading floor for 31 years.
Yes, I have.
Most recently with Freedom Capital Markets, though you've seen, by quick calculation, probably 4,000 or 5,000 bells.
Probably more than that. Yes, I've seen them.
So tell me about yesterday. I watched Closing Bell yesterday. I looked up and I saw in our audience back home we're watching now. You were right there in the bell podium. Talk about being up there with your uncle celebrating CMT.
Yeah, I got to ring the closing bell yesterday, and it helped that the market, the Dow Jones closed up 500 points. The S&P was up 2%. So it was a good day, but experience of a lifetime. I take for granted how special that moment is because as a trader, you're working. You hear that bell, you go to work. But to get on that podium, I kind of lost consciousness for a little while. It was extremely special. I was honored, and to celebrate an organization that's celebrating their 50th anniversary that I've been a part of for at least 15 years was amazing. And I can't thank the NYSE and the CMT Association enough for that honor. It was awesome.
Very cool, and let's put that CMT knowledge to work a little bit.
Okay.
You mentioned the big close yesterday, but GDP numbers came in 1.1, almost half what we were expecting. How is the market reacting to that?
The market is kind of choppy, let me put my technical hat on. We've been trending sideways. From an economic standpoint, the data's been mixed. The Fed is doing their job by raising rates, and the economy is cooling, but they're doing their job. We're not hitting that. We're hitting that soft landing. The recession keeps on being pushed distantly, down the road, if you will. If we ever get it, hopefully we land softly. But the numbers have been promising. The consumer's been resilient, and the PCE number came in a little hotter than expected today. So the Fed may continue to raise rates. There's a lot of mixed data, but price right now is going sideways. Believe it or not, after yesterday's rally, the S&P 500 is flat for the week. So we're seeing some volatility, but it's more pockets of it, and the overall market's trending sideways.
Yeah, you talk about that consumer spending still going. As a market technician, what are you particularly watching today as we head into the weekend?
Well, today I'm watching that 4 o'clock close so we can go home. It's been a long week. But, the data points that have come out have just kept that mixed feeling, like we're not sure what direction. The Fed next, May, oh my God, we're May next week. Yeah, so next week we're watching the Fed. I'm losing track of time. See 25 basis point hike, that's the consensus. And will these numbers say we need to continue that rate hiking cycle? That's what we're talking about here. And then there are pockets of earnings. We're still in the midst of ExxonMobil, Chevron, Snapchat down here are very exciting. That's where some of the crowds are behind us. So that's what we're watching on an individual basis. We've got Ford next week and a couple other great stocks down here. So it's still about earnings, and then the Fed later in the week, and then the old adage, selling may go away. That will be discussed a lot, and maybe we'll come back and talk about what that means to the market.
Well, it's not quite May yet. It's actually Arbor Day.
Yes,
and so
you have Jay Woods on Arbor Day. I see that.
Totally planned that. Yep.
Yes.
And we have GreenTrees here.
Yep.
Keeping with that wood theme. How has ESG investing, not really something that affects the Ford data, but how has ESG investing affected the market in recent years?
Well, it's changed how investors look at stocks, individual stocks, and now they can buy baskets of stocks. We have several ETFs here that are ESG based. And it's not just environmental, and we'll focus on the environmental part today because of Arbor Day, but social and governance play a very important role. And what has happened is the younger investors, they really are conscious about the companies that they buy. The investors want baskets of stocks that really adhere to those metrics that are environmentally conscious, socially and governance responsible. And we're seeing that landscape change where there was a big rush to it, and now it's becoming the norm. We may not focus on that because it's something we normally talk about, but it's something we have to talk about to our companies and investors that want to know that, yeah, if that is what your primary goal is in investing, that we have ETFs, we have funds, we have stocks, and as an exchange, it's something we take very seriously.
Well, thank you so much, Jay. I'm going to let you get your last day, April, into the books, and we'll see you in May.
All right, thanks. Always a pleasure to join you guys.
We'll be right back after this video.
This is our task, this is our mission. We have a clear focus and we have the ability to be agile and innovate as a young startup.
It takes years of dedication to get us to this milestone. It is all because of you.
Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. It is the only thing that ever has.
To be a woman leader, it's not so easy, but it's easy if the passion and the love is coming from your heart.
The New York Stock Exchange is the symbol of what America is all about. Potential of capitalism, the potential of an American dream.
The only way you can move a society forward is a true expression of freedom.
We're going to hear a conversation that Trinity had with Con Ed celebrating 200 years listed here on the New York Stock Exchange. And think about that. We're only 230 years old, just 30 years into our history. Con Edison, then as New York Gaslight showed up, and this is their story.
We are outside the New York Stock Exchange where we are getting ready to celebrate 200 years of Con Edison. Hey Tim, how are you?
Great to see you again, Trinity. How are you?
Great. We're on the corner of Wall and Broad. We basically keep the lights on in all these buildings around us, some 10 million people in New York City.
The 14,000 women and men that work here, they are at it 24/7, delivering for our customers and this great community.
We are celebrating 200 years of business, our longest listed company here at the New York Stock Exchange. How are you feeling?
It's really been incredible. We feel so privileged to be able to serve this incredible city. When we introduced electricity to these great residents and businesses, we really changed everything. Things didn't have to close when the sun went down. We became a 24/7 city. We became a vertical city, and we are a company that sort of flexes and transforms with the needs of this great city and the region.
You're also on NYSE's Board Advisory Council. Can you tell me the importance of board diversity?
We all know that diverse teams and groups yield better decisions. The Board Advisory Council really helps in a number of ways to place diverse candidates onto open board seats. And they act as a general resource so that we can accelerate this movement moving forward.
Now, just like electricity, it revolutionized the world, and so can board diversity.
Our board is incredibly diverse today. We're about 1/3 women, 1/3 people of color, and the LGBTQ plus community is also represented. I came into the company right out of college 35 years ago, and as I've taken on bigger challenges and more complex, uncertain decisions, I have found that the diversity in the room makes all the difference. I know how I think about a particular topic. What I want to do is hear from others who have a different lived experience, a different background, a different technical expertise, to weigh in. And invariably, when we come in with an idea and begin to discuss it, we leave the room with a polished idea, a better direction.
And what are you looking forward to most this year?
Incredible transition in the energy space. Think about climate change and our industry's ability to mitigate carbon emissions. So that's electrification of transportation, EVs, that's electrification of heating, it's energy storage. New York State and New York City are very, very progressive in that space. We've had an incredible legacy for 200 years. In many ways, I think the next 200 will be more impressive, and I really look forward to the future working with my teammates to deliver on that.
Well, to the next 200.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Tim. I'm going to toss it to a package that my colleague Judy Shaw did. She actually took Floor Talk to Dallas and sat down with Jerry Jones, who's the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, ahead of the 2023 draft.
NFL draft coming up in a few days. Jerry, talk to me about the process preparing for the draft. Is it a year-long journey?
We spend about $250,000 a player on our research to draft that player when we draft them. We draft 7 players, and we get about 15 players from college free agency. So we mean business. Now, when you look at those players, there's a lot of unanswered questions. You can see their stats, you can see their performance, but then you have to depend on something you can't feel or touch. That really is character, or that really is their desire to succeed. There's big boys, little boys, fast boys, slower boys, skinny boys, fat boys. A lot of people play football, but what's inside is hard to identify. That's the trick in the draft. It reminds me of some of the conversation that we've been having about business in general. As a matter of fact, oil and gas prepared me to draft, because in oil and gas you can pick up one phone and they tell you some news that's not particularly happy. While you're on the other phone, your voice can't break and you're put together a new place to go. That's a lot like the draft and a lot like putting a team together in the NFL.
I love that. Okay, so now your draft pick number 26. So when you're going into this, do you go with a specific need, or are you looking for the best available player?
Yes, we have our players evaluated, and we have them in a pecking order. There'll be 300 players drafted, and we have those in a pecking order. Early in the draft, when you have the best players and the best picks, they're very commonly evaluated the same by all teams. And there, of course, is an adjustment for a need. But when you go in there and look at them, it's like going in a journalism class and trying to find the next Pulitzer Prize winner by picking him out in the class, or going in the next finance class in school and trying to find the next Warren Buffett. Only really God knows who's sitting there and what's inside there. So that's very akin to the ones that work the hardest, do your best job researching, then you've got the best chance to pick the player that's going to be surprised. I dare say one of the best players ever to come out of the draft is a guy named Micah Parsons that we drafted 2 years ago. Micah Parsons was nowhere near our radar when we started the draft, but yet he was there, and we had enough information and evaluated it, and so we were able to overlook some of his shortcomings, which they all have them, and we were able to zero in on the positives, and you make a decision. Oil and gas very much like that.
All right, well, this has been incredible. Wonderful to talk with you both. Thank you so much. It's amazing to be here. Thanks for joining me on Floor Talk.
You're a star at the Star.
Love it.
That is our name that we have here. But all we're lacking at this moment is the 22,000 fans out here cheering us on.
Okay, well, next time.
Okay, that's me sitting right out there.
Okay, I say next time we're out there.
Okay, let's do it.
And of course, the draft continues on today. You all can follow on ESPN, which of course is part of Disney, listed here on the New York Stock Exchange. And actually, in a couple of weeks, we'll have talked to the president of ESPN on Inside the Ice House.
Yes, and I can't wait for that. So make sure to follow us on NYSE TV, on all of our social media platforms. And until next time.
See you then.